Welcome back to Big Apple Banter. Before we get started, we just wanted to thank everybody for tuning in and checking out all of our social media pages from our link tree. It means a lot to us three. We put a lot of time and effort into this, so to see some people actually enjoying our content means a lot. So obviously, we've talked about the Giants plenty of times on the show before, and we figured, why don't we tap into some more recent trends? And with the whole quarterback controversy for the Big Blue, a lot of rumors have actually been circulating around Matthew Stafford. So J-Man and Mattiel, obviously Matthew Stafford, he's won a Super Bowl with the Rams, has had quite the career. He's 37 years of age now. But a little context to the situation, Chad Hall, who is actually Matthew Stafford's brother-in-law, was added to the Giants staff, I believe, to be the quarterback's coach. Is that true? Something like that?
Assistant quarterback coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, assistant quarterback's coach. So there's kind of the familial ties with that. And obviously the Giants need a fucking quarterback. So we'll see what happens here. But J-Man, I'll hand the mic to you first. What kind of player is Matthew Stafford, first off?
I mean, he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I mean, that's what he is. He played for almost 10 years. I think he played for 10 years on the Lions. Made the playoffs a few times. They had a pretty terrible team, so that's probably why he didn't, go further on in the playoffs. But he, last 3 years in the Rams, 34-23. It's a pretty good record. I mean, I think it's his fourth year on the Rams or his third. He had the one where he got injured. I think it's his fourth year on the Rams. Gotcha. So yeah, he had 4 years in the Rams, was hurt pretty badly that one year, missed most season. He's 34-23. He's one of the top quarterbacks this generation. Like last year, he had 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 3,762 yards. Most seasons he's played, he averages around 4,000 yards a season, tosses around 20 to 25 touchdowns a season. This is the type of quarterback that we haven't had since Eli Manning in his prime, and I think. If we get this type of quarterback, it would change the entire team.
What do you got, Martin?
Yeah, I mean, Matthew Stafford, he's the kind of guy that just you want to root for. He's he's a tough son of a gun. I mean, that I think also leads into factors like his injury history. I mean, he has had to deal with a lot of stuff throughout his career. But I mean, the guy will take any hit in the game and get back up and keep on playing. So I mean, that's the kind of guy you want to see as your starting quarterback. The injuries, however, scare me a little bit. I'm looking at this site called Draft Sharks, but it has an injury projection guide. But Matthew Stafford has always been this season a very high risk. According to this, he's an 80.3% chance of injury for the season. I mean, that's just getting hurt at one point in the season.
There's a website that predicts players' injuries. That's what I'm
looking
crazy.
at right now.
That's crazy.
And his chance of injury per game is 9.1%. So, I mean, those numbers don't bode well for him, and he's really old. But I mean, 37. I mean, quarterbacks can play longer than some, but not when they take hits like Matthew Stafford. Personally, I love the guy. I think he'd be great. But I think, as we'll get to later on in this episode, it has to be the right trade and the right circumstance to bring him to New York.
Well, speaking of the trade, a lot of different rumors circulating around. Obviously, everybody kind of knows the kind of career that Matthew Stafford has. I think his best year was the first year with the Rams, 2021, won the Super Bowl, threw for 41 touchdowns, almost 5,000 yards. Probably an MVP candidate. He's older now. He gets hurt a lot. Basically, the rumor was the Giants would have to trade their third overall pick. That came from Colin Cowherd. And then recently on Twitter, or X, I should say, Adam Schefter said the Giants are absolutely not doing that. So, Mattiel, I know you have some spirited thoughts on this. The third overall pick, while it may not be a talented draft quarterbacks-wise, for the Giants, it has a lot of value. And for a guy who would pretty much be a rental at this point in his career, you're giving up a lot for a guy like Matthew Stafford with the third pick.
Yeah, I think Joe Shane should be fired on the spot if we were to trade the third overall pick for Matthew Stafford. And again, it's really nothing against the talent that he brings, because he's an extremely talented quarterback. But this is common sense, guys. Like, if you were to trade for an injury-prone 37-year-old quarterback with a third overall pick, which we have a high chance of potentially getting Cam Ward, Shadur Sanders, or even a generational prospect in Abdul Carter or hopefully Travis Hunter. Like it would just makes no sense. And I really, as you said, as Adam Schefter reported, like there's no way the Giants do this. I would be absolutely shocked. But like it would be a classic Giants thing to do. But
No,
Yeah.
it would be worse. It'd be worse. You only get a top five overall pick so often. I mean, I guess it's been more often than we'd like as Giants fans.
yeah, for
But
sure.
I mean, a number three overall pick, whether it's a quarterback or not, can change a team. Can change a defense, can change an offense, and you can't trade that away for a 37-year-old quarterback. And a quarterback who's going to take a large cap hit, a large percentage of your cap, and if you trade for him as well. So there's some pros with Stafford being a rental and that he's an amazing quarterback, and there's also those cons, like you said, Matt, that it's going to be a large cap hit, and we're going to have to trade away some future assets. And hopefully, it's definitely not the third overall pick.
Yeah, I don't even think this would be like even like a thought if the Giants like if this quarterback class was like a little bit stronger than it is. Like I know we're still kind of guessing on what these guys can be. I mean, the draft's always a crapshoot, especially at the quarterback position. But I think it's consensus this year that it's even more of a crapshoot. So, I mean, I think that's why like these rumors are going around that we might give up such a valuable pick for him. But I mean, I really just don't see it being very likely.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, most of the rumors kind of started with Chad Hall coming in as brother-in-law. That was kind of a joke, but then I wouldn't even say things are serious, just kind of floating around. So I have a couple of mock trades for you guys from CBS. So the three
Okay.
teams mentioned are the Steelers, the Vikings, and the Giants are actually thirds, which is interesting. So we'll start with the Steelers package, and you guys tell me what you think of this valuation. So the Steelers would trade their first round pick this year, which comes in at 21st overall, their 2025 second round pick, which is 52nd overall, and a conditional 2026 second round pick can become a first if Stafford plays 65% of the snaps in 2025. So
You can't. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I'm
a
fucking laughing. Jesus,
late,
that was
late first round pick, a 2025 second, and a conditional 2026 second that turns into a first if Stafford plays. What do you think?
Yeah, I think
uh,
it's a. I mean, you want to. I think it's a no from both of us. Just like definite no.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
No,
hold on, one sec. The Steelers would also get back the Rams' second round pick, which would be 26th overall.
Okay. Um,
wait. 26th pick in the second round or the 26th
So
overall pick?
26 overall. So the Rams would receive the 21st pick, the 52nd pick, and a 2026 second round pick that can become a first if Stafford plays. And the Steelers get Stafford and the 26th overall pick.
so you're essentially,
The first round swap for five
yeah,
picks, and then so you're adding on two second rounders on top.
yeah.
So basically, you move back five spots, and then a potential first. And so, I mean, I still think that's a little pricey. Like,
I think
Yeah.
this guy's at 50 mil, like, what is it, $49.7 million for a
yeah,
Yeah,
quarterback?
I
Like,
could. Yeah, for
it's
the
like,
kind of it's kind of crazy.
yeah,
But
I think for like the Kappa situation, like I could talk about it like quick. Like his cap it's 49 million this year, and then it's gonna be 53 next year with a zero guarantee for a second year, so you can cut him. But even for this year, like 49 million is a lot. That's like 18% of your cap. Some teams like the Eagles and the Niners are known for taking some of that cap hit, converting it to signing bonus. So let's say they took 20 million of that, converted it to signing bonus, reduces cap hit down to 30, and then just spread out the signing bonus into future years. Like you could do that, but for an older player, if they end up getting like released or they end up getting traded again, all that cap hit accelerates, and no matter what the scenario is, you're gonna end up having to pay a lot of money very quickly to an older guy, and I just can't understand a team giving up a first round pick or even like multiple like valuable picks to do that.
I just want to float this out there. So I was trying to look up like a comparable trade to this one in this one in particular, and you can look at the Jets when they traded for Aaron Rodgers like 2 years ago. The Jets gave up. They basically did a pick swap from picks 13 and 15. The Packers jumped up two spots, but then it was like a mid round second round pick and then a sixth round pick. So like
Yeah.
for a guy that was I mean, let's look at coming off. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had a bad season the year before he got traded, but like the 2 seasons before that, he was an back-to-back MVP. So like,
Yeah,
if that's what you're giving up for like Aaron Rodgers, like that trade just like is makes no sense. You know what I'm
I
Yeah.
saying?
agree. Yep.
We'll move on now to the Vikings package. Much more straightforward one here. The Vikings trade the 24th overall pick and they get Matthew Stafford. So a late first round pick, pretty straightforward. You develop JJ McCarthy a little bit for maybe a year or two of Stafford. Definitely not as bad as the third overall pick, but still a first round player, you know. And the Vikings obviously had a great year this year, so it's a late first. I don't know what you guys think on this one, but
This
that's
one, okay.
Yeah.
So this one, I mean, I still don't love it because a first round pick is like it's steep, but like the Vikings roster altogether is like in such a better spot than the Giants. And I would argue the
they
Steelers. I
have
mean,
an
the Steelers,
offensive line like
yeah,
that's
like and like what they were missing was a guy that like delivered in, as we talked about in our when we discussed Sam Darnold in our offensive free agency period. They need a guy that can deliver in the clutch, and I mean, Stafford's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, so I mean, he has the grit and the determination and the focus to do that. So I don't hate it as much, but I still think it's a little bit pricey.
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree. I think the Vikings have a lot of cap space. I'm reading like around 60 million. They don't really have that many other positional needs. I'm assuming they're going to spend that 21st overall pick on a lineman. You could still get Stafford and then sign a lineman or two in the offseason. I think for a team like the Vikings that are, I wouldn't say they're in win now mode, but they have the team to win now. They had 14 wins. They could trade for Stafford and make a run deep into the playoffs, I think. So I do like this trade for the Vikings specifically.
Yeah, I also think it's important to mention that when we're looking at first round picks, like if you look at the big four sports, I would say NFL first round talent. Like if you look at the NHL, for example, there are so many players who are drafted in the first round that kind of shit the bed. The NBA's, I feel like similar, but the NFL, like for the majority of the first round draft picks, those guys turn out to be at least serviceable player. Like I think scouting for the NFL because the majority of football comes from the United States and you don't have to go to Europe to scout and everything. Like the first round draft grade for players, I feel like is the most legitimate among the sports. So I would say the first round picks in the NFL are definitely super valuable. That's something we can get into later. But
Well, I like that point that you're bringing up, and I'm gonna find the chart, but there's like a standardized like trading point value chart that gets associated with each pick. So, I mean, we can while you guys are talking, I'm gonna look it up, but you can see the difference in point value from the third overall pick to like 24. I'm gonna go find it.
yeah, I wonder how many like GMs go the more scientific route or not even science like mathematical route and
Yeah,
look at actual values of trades versus which GMs look at it like this guy is going to work in our system, we believe in him. Like when the Rams traded for Stafford, they basically said they put their nuts on the table and said this is our year, and obviously it worked out for them,
yeah.
but
I mean
So I
that.
found.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, you can continue, Jimmy, if
No,
you want.
I said that trade actually I think was beneficial both ways, which is I don't even really see that. I think it's a very rare occasion where you see a trade like
win-win.
that
Yeah,
work out so well. I mean, like the Lions haven't been to a conference championship I think in like 20 years before Goff brought them there 2 years ago, and now you have the Lions had 15 wins this year, and then you had the Rams win the Super Bowl, and then they were bad for a year or two, probably because they traded away two first round picks and they took on a big cap hit. But if you win it, you win a championship. A trade like that's worth it. So it was definitely a
yeah.
win-win.
Yeah, so I found that chart I was talking about, and I wish I could share my screen, but I can't. But anyways, the Giants' third overall pick is worth 2,200 points on this point chart. For let's say the Minnesota's 24th overall pick is worth 740. So that's essentially saying that 324 overall pick, like three
Yeah.
first round 24 overall picks is the equivalent of what the Giants. But yeah, so like can you repeat the trade? I wanna like compare them.
The Vikings is just the 24th overall pick for Stafford.
Yeah, and then I want to compare what the trades are point value wise. Do you want would that be cool or is that
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. No, that's it. We could
okay.
do that.
Okay.
So, okay, so the Steelers would be trading the 21st overall pick.
Hmm. So
Their
that's
their their second round pick, which is 52 overall,
yeah.
and then a conditional second that can become a first if Stafford plays 65% of the snaps in 2025.
Yeah, so that's like roughly around anywhere from 1,400 to 1,600 points on that chart. So even that's not even worth the third overall pick. I mean, obviously this third overall pick nonsense just is it's nonsense.
Yeah.
But yeah, depending on what that conditional pick will change it a little bit. But I mean,
Yeah, the
I don't
Steelers one
know.
is a little messy. The Vikings one straightforward, but let's go to the Giants one now. And I actually think
Yeah,
that
let's hear it.
this makes sense. So CBS has it mocked that the Giants trade their 2025 second, which is 34th overall, and their
Okay.
2026 second round pick for Matthew Stafford. So two second round picks, one in this upcoming draft, which is pretty high, and one in next year's draft. So, obviously, third overall pick, far too much value associated with that. That could be a trade chip for a young stud. Like, you don't trade top 5 picks for a 37-year-old quarterback, but 2 second round picks is not too bad. And, Jesse, you mentioned it earlier, but the Rams could be looking to blow it up. So it's something interesting to think about. 2 seconds for Stafford. J-Man, what do you think?
I kind of like it. I think the value is there trade wise. The only thing I don't like is I was talking about it before is the cap hit. I think it would leave the Giants a little bit handicapped this offseason. We need a big corner. We need a defense tackle and a few linemen. We could end up using that third pick maybe for. I mean, you can get maybe Travis Hunter and get 2 positions, or maybe get a Will Johnson or Mason Graham. But it would handicap us in a sense that we would still have a bunch of holes if we traded for Stafford. But again, like if you trade for a quarterback like Matthew Stafford, you change an entire team. Like once you get a quarterback, everything falls into place. And I would say like you've seen that with a team like Houston with Stroud, or even a team like Cincinnati with Burrow. Like they got Burrow and then all of a sudden they were a Super Bowl team. So I mean you get a guy like Stafford, the other positional needs become a little bit less important because you have the most important position in a quarterback.
Yeah.
Uh,
Even if he's old, like just the fact that they would win more games. You make Malik Neighbors happy. I mean, this guy seems to have like almost a little bit of entitlement. You don't want him to request a trade out of nowhere. If he
well,
has a
what I
legit quarterback throwing to him.
actually seems like the Giants like front office is like trying to keep him involved. I mean, he even came out and said that it feels like that they're listening to him and taking him into consideration. I think they're being smart doing that, keeping him happy because he's a great player. But I mean, I thought his cryptic tweets were pretty funny. Like was it 9 + 10, and then like a sheep emoji or something. So like, hey, Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford. I mean, I could sign up for that. I mean, obviously for the right price. But back to what you were saying about with the Giants potential trade. 2 second rounders sounds. I'm gonna throw this counter out there. 2 second rounders sounds in theory nice. However, the Giants have the 34th overall pick in the whole draft. It is essentially a first
A
round
first
pick.
rounder. Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
essentially a first round pick. And I mean, I still don't like hate it, but like I feel like everywhere we go into the draft, and there's always like 2, 3 players at the top of the draft or the top of the second round that fall into the second round that are quality players. That every year I'm like, oh, I really hope the Giants can find a way to get this guy. Um, and we basically have the pick. We have the second pick in the second round, so we'd have our choice basically at those guys that fall because there always will be those guys. And I mean, I guess it depends on if our talent evaluators in the scouting department think that those guys that fall are guys that would be great fits here. So I mean, it's dependent on a lot. But the point is, I think you get first round value talent with that high of a second round pick. So it is still a lot to give up.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the quarterback position is important. Now, I'm going to ask you guys, would you guys include the third overall pick if Cooper Kupp was a part of the trade?
No, definitely no. No. You can't
Certainly
give away
not.
the pick. You just can't.
Really?
He just
Yeah.
Really?
you can't give away the pick. Cup
Wow.
too, he's old, he gets hurt. And it's the same thing with
We're
Stafford.
talking about
It's too much
Matthew
of a risk.
Stafford and Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
Like,
I don't think
I
you can.
understand they're old, but like,
What do you think, Matt? I don't think you
I
can.
I agree with Jay, man. Like Cooper Kupp is he's. I mean, there's a reason. I mean, he was the Triple Crown winner, and there's a reason he hasn't been putting up those numbers nearly close or those numbers at all the last 2 seasons. I mean, he's a good player, and he's like he fits so well with like. Okay, so like the Madden player in me is
Yeah.
like hell yeah, let's do that.
I
But
mean, we're
like
talking about Cooper Kupp and
No,
And
but
Matthew
I
Stafford,
I
like
just
I
I
know they're
just
older, but
I agree with you, man. I think because I just think third overall pick. So what we could do instead of that, right, is you draft a guy that's 22 coming out of college. I mean, if you want a wide receiver, you could get. I mean, I know they're unproven. I still like in that scenario, Travis Hunter. Like, would you rather have Travis Hunter that could play both positions? I mean, granted, he's unproven, and but we've seen what he was. He was a Heisman winner for that third overall pick. Or would you rather? I don't know how old Cooper Kupp is off the top of my head. I would guess
he's
anywhere from
31.
He's like
He's
33. I
my
was gonna
yeah
guess 33, but he's also shown so many injuries. I'd rather the guy that's
yeah
10 years younger that was an elite wide receiver in college. I mean, I guess you get Matthew Stafford in this scenario as like a cherry on top. Well, I guess it would be either way the cherry on top. But like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
I just it's
All
not
right,
my
all right. So
I
all
favorite.
right,
think
so another theoretical. So like I think we can all agree that the top end talent of this draft is not solidified or proven enough. Like there's a lot of question marks with Shadur and Cam Ward and even Travis Hunter at this point. Like I almost feel like it's safer for the Giants to make a move like this because you kind of know what you're going to get with Stafford and Cup versus if you draft one of these guys. Like, what if you draft Shadur and he sucks? Then 2 or 3 years down the line, we're still going to be in a
yeah
hole. If we make this trade and get Stafford and Cup somehow, this like it may not. The Giants are not going to win the Super Bowl, but it like it just provides some certainty to a fan
yeah
base
Mike
that has lacked has lacked any feeling of like what kind of product are we going to put on the field this year? Are we going to be the team that does a cute quarterback sneak on 3rd and 9 against the Commanders in Week 17 of the season? Yes, I was at that game. That was one of the craziest things.
yeah
Jake Fromm running a QB sneak on third, and like I get what you're saying.
I
Like
mean,
it makes sense to
yeah.
not do it, but I just feel like this is a really risky draft class.
no,
And if we
I
suck
think
next year, we get a high pick again, you know?
I'd be lying to say that I don't like the idea of Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp on the Giants roster doesn't excite me. Like I think that'd be exciting for fans and stuff like that. I just think if you're talking about a long-term decision,
yeah
I just I don't think you can make that. I don't think you can make that decision. I mean, both of them is. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I
There would be
still.
more pieces. Like I don't think the
Granted,
Rams
I
would
don't think
trade
that would
both
ever.
of.
I don't think that would ever
Yeah.
happen.
yeah with Cup too. Like I would rather them do what you said before with Stafford than just sign another receiver like instead of Cup. It's like Cooper Cup hasn't been good in the last like 2 to 3 years. Like he had like you said he had that one crazy season, but like last 2 to 3 years he gets hurt a lot. He's not. I mean, he's his first step. His release isn't the same. He's not as quick.
Yeah.
He's hurt. Like I
Yeah,
think
But do
that's
you
the biggest
think
thing.
what if he thrived more with having neighbors as the one? I don't know. Listen, you guys are making the logistical argument here. I'm
yeah,
making the I'm sick of watching terrible football argument.
yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
And
That's a valid
like the
argument.
Giants could make like people would be in the seats. Like, you know, who knows what could happen. I mean, Stafford
I
like the Rams were supposed to suck this year and he basically dragged them there. I mean, Cup
yeah.
was hurt, which doesn't help his case. Puka Nacua was hurt, and the Rams probably should have beaten the Eagles, to be honest. Like they could have very easily beaten. I don't know. It's just like I just want some excitement. Like, can't we just have some excitement as Giants fans?
Yeah,
Well,
Like
I can't ever remember in my lifetime the Giants being in more disarray than they are right now. Like between like remember those banners that people were flying over MetLife like before the games, like
yeah.
towards the end of the
It's
year.
crazy,
It's
crazy.
like
so
I
bad, dude.
I feel like we're itching it, or we're trending towards being like the Browns or the Jets, something like that. And like I don't like
Okay, all right. We can't go that. I mean, the Giants are still a very it's a big market team, won four
Yeah,
Super Bowls. Like recently, it's been a struggle, and really, it's just we don't have a
Reese.
quarterback, man. Like,
Recently, it's been 10 years. We made the
yeah. But still, but
playoffs.
look at the Jets and look at the Browns. The
Oh
dude,
Jets.
yeah,
you can't compare us to
that's
the
Yeah, you
Jets
can.
and
I'm
the
Yeah,
not
you can.
Browns,
saying
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
not saying we are the Browns or the Jets. I said we are trending towards that. Very big difference.
We're gonna have a couple of buddies on who are some Jets fans and absolutely squash any feeling of. I mean, Jets fans had to convince themselves that 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers, fresh off of mushrooms and an Achilles tear, was going to send them to the Super Bowl. Like that is another level. But I mean, regardless, it's fun to see some noise around the G-men. It's fun to see them involved in trade rumors, and who knows, maybe they do pull the trigger on something big like this. I if Kupp, if it's just Stafford, I agree. You can't involve the third overall pick. It's far too valuable. Maybe the Giants trade back. We'll definitely have a mock draft episode coming out. But once again, we thank you guys for tuning in. If you have any questions or video idea requests that you want to see us talk about, let us know. It's the off season, so there's a lot of things going on. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one.